So this type of video I like making mostly for myself. It's to look back and reflect about the way I thought at certain points in my life, which I haven't ever really changed, and I don't think I will change my view about Christianity. But I like looking back and seeing how my thoughts about it developed throughout the years. And for example, in this video, I wanted to talk about why I think Christianity is the true Abrahamic religion compared to Islam and Judaism, and why within Christianity itself, Catholicism is, in my opinion. So from my understanding, Judaism is an incomplete religion because the Jewish people were used as a vessel in the First Testament for the bringing of the prophecies and all the revelations that were needed at the time. So they were the first covenant, and then they stayed waiting for their Messiah, and they didn't accept him when he came, which we believe is Jesus Christ as Christians. And that's why they're an incomplete religion, because they were used by God to fulfill the First Testament, but then once Jesus came down to earth, his followers are the chosen people, the followers of Jesus Christ. So that's why when politicians say that, like Ted Cruz, those who bless Israel will be blessed, the Bible was not talking about the modern state of Israel at all. And I think that's something that's becoming a lot more known now. But a lot of evangelicals, it seems like, still think this way for whatever reason. This is actually known as dispensationalism. And I didn't know that that's what it was called. I've heard about it before when I went to Catholic school, but when I went to Catholic school, I didn't really take it that serious, honestly, because I didn't find it interesting like I do now. And examples of this that I'm talking about are Isaiah 53:5. He was pierced for our transgressions, by his wounds we are healed. So by Jesus' wounds, we are all healed, all that follow him, not just an ethnic group of people. Jeremiah 31-33, I will make a new covenant, write it on their hearts. So the point is that Christians believe Jesus fulfills these while Judaism still waits, and they will keep waiting because our Messiah already came. So yeah, Christ means our Messiah. So when people say, oh, but Jesus was Jewish, even if he was born ethnically Jewish, it's literally in his name, Jesus Christ. So he was Christian, you know, and we're his followers, we're Christians. So the whole, you can't criticize a group of people because Jesus himself was Jewish, it's not a good argument. And I know a lot of people maybe have heard about Jews spitting on Christians, which to me, it doesn't make sense why they're considered our greatest ally. In some ways, we have more in common with Muslims than even Jews. And, well, from my understanding, the Talmud is like oral thoughts that they discuss about different topics throughout the years, and some of it is written and some isn't, from what I know. And there has been some examples of bad things being said about Jesus Christ and supposedly about his mother Mary. And one, for example, I could be wrong about this, but one example I found, which I could be wrong, is Sanhedrin 43a, which mentions Yeshua, Jesus, hanged on the eve of Passover. And then another one is Barakat 17b, which calls Christians heretics. And supposedly there's some other nasty ones, but I'm not sure. To be honest, I find the Talmud a little bit confusing of what's real and what's not, because there is a lot of fake info out there, so I don't want to say anything that's not correct. But yeah, that's not to just say negative things about Jewish people, because it's like any other group of people. There's nice people and there's not nice people. And I don't know, I think the Holy Land would be better if it was all Christian, right? But maybe that's not realistic right now. But in my opinion, I think that they should show a little bit more respect towards our Lord Jesus Christ, because, well, not only is he God, but also, to be real, all the money that they receive from Christian countries, you know? And the only reason they're allowed to exist, honestly, is because of the help from Christian countries that they got. So then Islam, in my opinion, Islam seems like a cheap copy, like a corrupted copy of Christianity that came hundreds of years later after Christianity by this guy named Muhammad, who he thought was approached by an angel, but who, if you read about what the way he was approached, it sounds more like he was approached by Satan to be tricked and trick humanity more than an angel, because it said that when he was confronted, he felt like he almost died. He was on the brink of death. And an angel wouldn't do that, but Satan would. So it sounds like it was Satan trying to trick humanity, and it seems like it's been working for a lot of people, unfortunately. And another reason why I think that is because it seems like Islam shares like just enough things that in common to make it sound believable, but they leave out or they corrupted some of the most important parts, you know? Like they do believe Jesus existed, he was a prophet, but they don't think he was the Son of God, but they do believe that he will come back when it's the end of times and judge us, just like Christians believe, which that's a contradiction because only God can judge. They believe only God can judge, but Jesus will come back. So that in itself doesn't make sense, like, for Muslims. Unlike Jesus, who praised positivity and good moral values, Muhammad was he did like some good things, but a lot of really bad things too. Like he converted a lot of people by force. He married a 9-year-old, I believe she was 9. And then they say, oh, but the marriage was consecrated when she was a little older, but I don't know. It's a little strange. So a lot of things, the way I see it is it's a corrupted copy of Christianity. Like a lot of the main things we have in common, but a lot of the really important things got corrupted, and it seems like a fake version of Christianity that came hundreds of years later to lead people away from Christ, in my opinion. Here are some examples of what I was talking about earlier about Muhammad when he received his vision. It's Sahih Bukhari 1.3. which talks about how Muhammad's vision terrified him, feared possession, in contrast to when Angel Gabriel approached Mary. Luke 1:30, he said, "Do not be afraid, became peaceful." So both religions, it's like it's like some of the main things are in common, and maybe even more in common than Judaism in some ways after the First Testament. But the main things are corrupted. For example, Jesus was nonviolent, forgave enemies. Muhammad fought wars, and like I said, married Aisha young. And then the debate between Catholicism versus other denominations. I just feel blessed to be able to have been born into Catholicism, which maybe when I was younger I didn't appreciate, but now I see how lucky I am. I understand, well, honestly, from like the schism between Orthodox and Catholics, I'm not really too educated on the whole deal why. Like I know like briefly like kind of why, but from what I understand to this day, we still share more in common with Orthodox people than with most Protestants. But with Protestantism, I also understand why it happened, because they say the Catholic Church was doing a lot of corrupt things at the time, which, you know, the church was handed to us by God, but once it was put in our hands, obviously we're humans and there's going to be human error because it's in our nature. So I understand why the Protestant Reformation maybe happened at the time. And yeah, the Catholic Church has had its problems, but from all the Protestant denominations that there are, in my opinion, like what they were fighting against at the time, like most of them have become way worse now, you know, through the passing of time. And I think that most of the Protestants from back in the day would be more closely aligned to modern Catholics than to modern Protestants. I like the tradition of Catholicism. I like walking in and it feeling like sacred, you know. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong maybe with the concert stuff or even like more traditional Protestants which their mass is more traditional. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it maybe. I don't know. But I like the traditions of Catholicism, the baptism, communion, confirmation, all that. I think it's nice because I have good memories with them, but I can see why someone that correlates them with bad memories might feel resentment against it, unfortunately, and that might be a reason why they leave and search in other places. But I also trust the Catholic priests a lot more, knowing that they dedicate a huge portion of their life learning about what they preach, and it's not just like an online certificate that they can get in a few weeks or something, you know, which I know not all Protestant churches are like that. But another thing that's pretty convincing is most Abrahamic religions like Judaism and Islam believe in supernatural stuff, like demons, which in Islam they go by jinn. There's different names, but as far as Christianity, it seems like whenever there's a possession or something like that, a Catholic priest is always called, You don't really see any other denomination like a pastor or something being called because the Catholic priest knows what to do. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's just from my knowledge. So that's another reason that I think that Catholicism is true. And I just really like it. I think it's beautiful. I think our churches are beautiful, our traditions, and I think that it's worth keeping alive. A sad thing I see a lot is a lot of Hispanics, they'll be born into Catholicism, but then they come to the States or other places and they fall for these cheap arguments, these common arguments that they hear because maybe they never heard at home before, or maybe their parents hadn't heard coming from a majority Catholic country. But the common ones will be like, it's a white man's religion, it was forced upon you, this and that. Which the reality is that most Latin American or Hispanic American countries are a mix of both the cultures that collided. And yeah, there was wars, just like there was wars everywhere back in the day. And I don't know, many people would argue that the values that Christianity brought are a lot more superior and moral than what most of these places had beforehand. Another cheap one or easy one that a lot of fellow Hispanics fall into is, don't you know that Catholics worship Mary? Which is easily debunked, But it is a common one that you pray to saints, which we don't. And I think by now people are getting tired of it because everyone knows we don't. Like, we ask for their intercession and then they'll say, well, you don't have to because that's why Jesus came and died for us. Yeah, you don't have to, but is there anything wrong with it? It's like when someone gets sick and goes on Facebook and says, keep me in your prayers because I'm going through this and that. It's the same thing. You're asking a saint for your prayers to pray for you from someone that's already in heaven, that we believe is in heaven next to God, So it's no different than asking your friends or family or loved ones to pray for you, except for we're asking someone that had an important role in history to the church maybe, which is worth remembering in my opinion, like people that were remarkable. That's something that they accomplished while they were on earth and then now they're in heaven. And what's wrong with asking for a prayer from them, It's not harmful. Or yeah, that's a common one. Or that, you don't pray to Mary. And literally in the Spanish prayer, Ave María, Madre de Dios, ruega por nosotros, beg for us sinners. We're not praying to her, we're asking her to beg for us, which there's nothing wrong with. And then the Pope thing, like, you guys shouldn't have the Pope as your leader, this and that. But it's like anything needs structure, Like Orthodox people, it seems like their leaders by their country or like the region. Protestants, it's like their bishops. And then, yeah, Catholics, it's the Pope, but that's because there's billions of Catholics in the world, And it's all over the world, so that's like an appointed leader. I don't see anything wrong with that either, Each denomination needs someone to like organize and run stuff, but it doesn't mean that he's our God or anything. That's another argument that people use against Catholicism, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I wish more Hispanics, Latinos thought about these things or like researched more about this stuff before they go and think that they're smarter than their ancestors, their parents, that they just found out something that their family never heard of, which maybe their immediate family never heard of, but these are topics that have been discussed for a long time and debunked. And you just have to research it because if you haven't heard about it, you might think, oh my God, I just discovered something crazy and I'm not Catholic now, I gotta tell my family. But it's not true. In my opinion, like if this religion was good enough for my ancestors, my grandparents and all of them, it's good enough for me. And I don't think I'm smarter than them.